So it's Buccaneers Saints part 3. I already made a video talking about the Bucs offense versus the Saints defense, but I really think that this game is going to come down to the other side. It's going to come down to the Tampa Bay defense taking on Drew Brees and the Saints offense. And a lot of people are saying, well, I mean, the Saints are just going to score on every single drive. But there's actually some statistics you can look at that really argue the contrary. And that's what I'm going to be talking about at the beginning of this video. Now, I also want to be very upfront and honest here. I am a Buccaneers fan, so there is that bias there. I try really hard to not let bias affect how I feel about something, and I try to just, be level-headed when I talk about it, even though I am biased. But, sometimes subconscious bias can come into play as well. I might be sort of rooting for Tampa Bay to win, and then I just look for reasons why they could win. But I genuinely don't believe I'm doing that here. I think there is actually some valid reasons for why this Buccaneers defense matches up better than people realize. I want to talk about man versus zone. And what you see on the screen is the game against Washington. That's what I got from it. And in 84.8% of snaps, they were playing zone, which is obviously a very high amount. Weirdly, they ended up with exactly 7 yards per play when they were playing man and when they were playing zone. That's kind of a bizarre coincidence how it worked out with exactly 7 yards per play on each one. But yeah, those are the numbers, and the reason why I brought that up is because I do think Tampa Bay is much better when they play man. I think there was a couple of fluky plays when they were playing man. They looked better when they played man. I'll get into that in a second once I get to the film study. But that's just something I'm bringing up because they played a lot of zone, and more often than not, when they play a lot of zone, they aren't very effective. Let's also talk about the Saints round 1 now. The first time they played New Orleans, they played zone significantly less, a more healthy, 59.4%, which is more than I would have liked, but, still a decent amount. Also worth mentioning, I'm only talking about passing plays, not rushing plays, but there isn't really much of a difference in passing and rushing anyways. But you look at zone coverage in this game, they gave up a good 6.8 yards per play. That's lower than Drew Brees' average of 7.5. But against man, they only gave up 44 yards on 13 plays. That's 3.4 yards per play. So clearly, man is the better option there, and that's kind of why they were able to hold New Orleans' offense in check in that game. So the first time you realized, hey, much better at playing man than playing zone. So what did they do the second time they played the Saints? They played zone 75.8% of the time, and they were terrible at it. Now, you see that against zone, it was 25 plays, 8 against man. I took out the drive with Jameis Winston because that would be misleading. But anyways, yeah, you see that they played zone and they gave up 7.7 yards per play when they were playing zone, whereas man, it was a better 6.5 yards per play. But you notice there's an asterisk there. You have to keep in mind there was only 8 plays when they played man coverage, so one big play can completely skew the data. And if you take out Taysom Hill's 23-yard run, it brings it down to 4.1 yards per play. Now, I don't know if that's totally fair to do. I mean, Taysom Hill will probably get the ball and run it in the playoff game they play, so I don't think it's fair to completely take that out. But regardless of how you slice it, clearly, Tampa Bay is much better playing man than playing zone when they face New Orleans. Jenna Lane from ESPN tweeted out that Drew Brees' completion percentage drops from 746 when outside cornerbacks are playing off coverage compared to 57.6% when both are pressed. Two-man coverage also has given him the most problems out of any defensive coverage. Do with that information what you will. Well, what I'm going to do with that information is make it into a video. But yeah, I mean, that's another thing worth mentioning. In man coverage, play press, that's where Tampa Bay can have some success. There was also a quote from Bruce Arians after the Saints game when Bruce Arians said that he thought the Bears did a good job of containing Drew Brees, except on the one drive where they played all that zone coverage, which leads you to believe they've learned their lesson and they're not going to play zone coverage on 3/4 of the snaps like they've done the second time they played the Saints, and also like they did last week against Washington. So that's it for the numbers. Let's get into the film study now, because this is you can easily see it by watching the tape as well. Let's watch the game from Washington a bit, where this is zone coverage, and this is a great example of showing just why Tampa Bay is bad at zone, because it's not an athletic thing. It really isn't. It's these guys just aren't good at it. They haven't done it a ton. I feel like, not having a full training camp, that might hurt for a team that didn't expect to run much zone this season. I think that they could have probably used some more practice. I don't know. But clearly there's a thing going on upstairs that's an issue. Where on this one, it's going to be a zone blitz that Tampa Bay is running here. They love their zone blitzes, which that might be a factor in why they just get confused. But you see how this concept should work. This shouldn't be a difficult concept. I mean, there's 2 Washington players. One's running shallower, one's running deeper. You have 2 Tampa Bay players in that area. This should be very easy to make sure that you don't screw this up. But watch what happens once this play starts. Notice that corner who I've circled there. He is doing a horrible job here. He's starting to move a little bit closer in. He's trying to take away the Washington player who's in the flat. But why do that? You're the deep corner on this play. You should be staying deep. It's just a mental mistake. And you may be saying, okay, well, so what? The Tampa Bay 5th defensive back screwed something up. He, missed his assignment. That happens. But no, this isn't some bench warmer. This is Carlton Davis, probably their best cornerback. I think definitely their best cornerback. And he's just making a bad play on this one. As you see, he runs in, and this leaves someone wide open for Heinicke. And that's just a mental mistake. That's not physical. And that's kind of why I say that this team just needs to stay away from zone coverage as much as possible. Now, they can get beaten against, when they're playing man as well. Obviously, they're not perfect. And as I said, the numbers were actually the exact same in man and zone against Washington. I think a lot of why they stayed away from man, though, was because Heinicke would scramble with the football, and I did include scrambles in that chart, so that was, I think, a bigger factor in why they played so much zone, and also why the numbers were close. Drew Brees probably isn't going to rush for too many yards, so you're okay there. But yeah, this is once again Carlton Davis, and it's a curl route, sort of deep, past the first down marker right here, and it's cover 2 man for Tampa Bay, which they seemingly hate doing, even though I think it's probably something they should do pretty often. They love to be creative with their blitz concepts and stuff, but sometimes just do the simple thing. Just have 2 safeties deep and play man. It's really not that difficult, but it's just not what Tampa Bay likes to do. But watch, as you see, once Heinicke takes a snap, he looks over. There's not much separation at all. This is going to take a good throw and a good catch, and that's your job as a defensive back, is to force your opponent to make a good catch. Very rarely are you going to actually completely shut down a play. It almost never happens. Even the best guys in the league, Jair Alexander, Jalen Ramsey, James Bradbury, whoever you want to say, those guys still, most of their best plays are a play like this. As you see, Heinicke can make this throw. It's a really good grab. For Tampa Bay, you got to, go back to the line and say, hey, good play. We did a good job on that one. It didn't work, but that's okay. You made a good play. And really, sometimes a defensive back is similar to like playing defense in basketball, where the best you can do is just play good defense. Sometimes they're going to shoot it over you. In football, the best you can do is create little separation and force them to make a great catch. They can still make the great catch, and there still can be a perfect throw, and you just got to tip your cap. One potential worrisome matchup for Tampa Bay would be Jared Cook. I think that they really don't match up well against Jared Cook. Levante David is a much, I think, better coverage linebacker, but if it's Devin White, that's a real issue. In this play, they're playing cover 0, and it is going to be Cook getting covered by Devin White, which just isn't a great matchup for Tampa Bay. White, as good as he is at the other stuff, really struggles in coverage, and so I do think New Orleans could try and use that to their advantage. Watch, this is Taysom Hill who takes the snap, and I mean, Cook is just wide open. White's just trying to stay on his feet, and that's just kind of the thing, is that's just a great matchup for New Orleans, and that's something that they will probably attack a good amount if they're playing, if Tampa Bay does play a bunch of man coverage, which I think they will. And so for New Orleans, that's the way you attack. I suspect Jared Cook will have a really good day in this one. Hill makes that throw. It was actually not even a great throw. I think if Brees makes that, it would have allowed Cook to pick up more yards after the catch. But yeah, that's just something you can do if you're New Orleans. But the reality is, when Tampa Bay plays zone, when they played zone in that second game, they were just so bad at it. Like on this one, it's a good concept from New Orleans, and that's kind of, 2 sides of the same coin. It's Tampa Bay's, they get out of position, and then the Saints are great at getting opponents out of position, so it works both ways. But, on this play, it's going to fake as though it's going to be just a screen to Alvin Kamara, who's all the way to Brees' right, but you have 2 receivers then running deep. Watch how once this play starts, you notice that, again, that Tampa Bay corner who I've circled, he's the deep corner on this play. He's supposed to cover deep, but he's cutting in because he thinks that this is going to be a screen. and you have to just trust your teammates. So for Tampa Bay, when you do play zone, because I'm sure it won't be 100% man coverage, you'll have to throw some zone in there. And when you do, you just have to make sure you do a good job of just trusting your teammates and staying in your assignment way more than they do. There are times when you should abandon your assignment, but they don't do it at the right times. They just do it willy-nilly, which is a mistake. This is going to be a touchdown. Breeze makes a bit of a high throw. Could have been better, but either way, a touchdown is a touchdown, and that's just kind of the thing. I think that Tampa Bay is best just don't play zone at all. Literally, just don't play zone. You're fine with playing zone as little as possible. Because against man, the Saints did have their issues, and this one is a good example where it's man coverage, a cover one man play, and you see that those are the routes that, they can work, especially some of the stuff over the middle can work against this type of coverage. So, the New Orleans Saints, they have ways to try and beat man, but the reality is Tampa Bay, basically all of their defensive backs were drafted to be man coverage corners. So it's not surprising that they're much better in man coverage. Watch, Breeze takes the snap, and as pressure starts to maybe come, there's no one open. He basically has to make a decision now, and there's nothing even close. There's no separation. He's going to have to try and fit it through a super tight window and hope for a great catch, or it's just going to fall incomplete. He throws one to Sanders, isn't quite able to complete it. It wasn't a bad throw. It would have taken a perfect, that's a mailbox type throw he needed to make, and most quarterbacks aren't going to make those throws consistently. Now, we have seen Breeze make those kind of throws consistently, but the hope for Tampa Bay is that you just don't get that Drew Brees in the game, and you just make things difficult for him, which I think they can do. And Tampa Bay is much smarter when they play man, because I want to be clear, they're not like dumb guys. They're just guys who haven't played a bunch of zone coverage. And I think that when you played zone coverage for 10 years, you're a lot better at it than when you played it for, maybe 10 games. And I think that's kind of what a lot of these Tampa Bay players are struggling with. So on this play, it's cover 2 man, and there's a little slant route over the middle. So that's what's happening right here. This is a good route against this type of coverage. Since it's the cover 2 man, nobody's over the middle of the field, and Breeze can make this throw. Also worth mentioning the situation. This is a 3rd down and 10 and around a 12-yard line, so they can get a first down without the touchdown, but they need to get pretty close to the goal line. And so one of the things that is definitely worth mentioning is this route, while it can work, really Breeze would want to make the throw later because then it would be more open and further down the field. So Breeze takes the snap, and you notice that, really look at Sean Murphy-Bunting. He's 23. He's the corner who's pointing to one of his safeties. Hey, you cover that guy now. You have time to get over there, and it'll be a lot easier for you to make that cover than me because, he would have to completely run through all of the traffic and run straight over the middle, and he's probably going to not be able to win that matchup. And then Sean Murphy-Bunting can just run deep, and he ends up being the second safety. So you're just switching assignments as the play is going on. Because of that, it ends up getting completely covered up. Breeze tries to scramble, picks up a yard. Breeze isn't exactly Taylor Heineke when it comes to scrambling. So that's what you have working for you if you are Tampa Bay, is that you played the Saints really well against man coverage. I don't know why they keep playing zone coverage. Play man coverage. For the Saints, there is ways you can beat man coverage, but I just don't think that they're built to beat the Tampa Bay team that we've seen when they are, actually being smart. Don't forget, this Tampa Bay defense was essentially built to stop Drew Brees in the Saints offense. It hasn't done a great job at it, but it was built to do that. And if they can just play smart football and play man coverage, not only do I think they can be successful, I have a really hard time seeing the Saints be successful. And I'm sure people are just going to call me a homer for saying that, but I really think it's true. And I said the Bucs were going to score 27. I think the Saints scored 24. I'm going to give Tampa Bay the victory in this one. I really don't think I'm being biased here. I really think this is because of that's what the data says and what the tape says. But you can still disagree. Let me know in the comments below why you disagree. I always love hearing from you, even if it's, a disagreement. I think that's fun. So yeah, let me know. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.